And we're back with another episode of AdeptiCon Talks. And so right now we're being joined by Chris and Hank, who is going to talk to us about all things 40k at the convention. Yeah. So what's going to go on at the convention this year?
Well, we've got a full slate. I think if you think about the 40k universe, there's over a dozen different ways to engage it this year, which I think is really exciting. The thing we've learned is people want to play this game differently. Right, whether it's the championships in a format that is, for the more competitive gamer. On the other end of the spectrum is the team tournament, which really embraces the narrative of 40k and really delves into the deep history, and then all of the different ways that it spins from there. So from this aspect of the friendly, or going back to Space Hulk, some of the roots of 40k, all of those different events are represented across the full slate this year.
Awesome. How many different types of tournaments are going to be available for the game?
So there's about 12 different ones.
Wow.
So if you run it down, Thursday you'll see the championships in a format that's a little closer to what we've done in the past, bringing back the top 16 on Friday. You'll see Combat Patrol, which is more of a slightly less lengthy engagement. So you can play that 3-4 hours and still have the rest of the day to take in hobby seminars. Friday you'll see the Return of the Friendly. We moved Maelstrom out of the mainstream events into its own event this year to give folks who enjoy that format something to do on Friday. You'll see then the team tournament coming up on Saturday. Combat Patrol gets sprinkled throughout the weekend. There's Horus Heresy events sprinkled throughout the weekend. Space Hulk.
Yeah.
Guys with the Long War podcast are doing a doubles event on Friday. We've partnered up with them. They're bringing the hobby back as their slogan, and they're excited to be on board. So I think all total, there's probably 12 different formats, but there's probably well over 24, 26 different 40k events on the weekend at different times.
You can't deny when you're at the convention, walking around and you go in the halls, the sheer number of people that are playing the game. It always impresses me. And I mean, and admittedly, it's not a game that I play,
Sure.
But it just blows my mind the number of people that are playing it and the beautifully painted things, the creative displays that we see with people. They put a lot of thought and a lot of detail into things when they're here.
Yeah, that speaks to the team tournament. I mean, it's still the largest 40k event in the country, if not the world. We'll run a flight somewhere around 500 players this year. And it really is built to reward those players that are willing to give that extra effort and produce the gorgeous armies. You hear the GTs of old where there was just, greatly painted armies, great displays, lots of thought. And that's really our keynote to that is on Saturday night when we do that Armies on Parade and really have a chance to highlight the people who put in just hundreds, if not thousands of hours of effort.
Yeah. I mean, part of the great thing about the team tournament and the team displays is it's really, a lot of that effort is post-convention show, right? It's about getting together with your 4 buddies, working on an army, working on a concept, getting together on a weekly or monthly basis and building that, and all kind of leads up to AdeptiCon, and then seeing that the effort and just the creative side of what people are able to do with that event has just been amazing over the years. I mean, we've been doing this now for 14 years, Chris, at least.
Yeah, something
so
like that, yeah.
I mean, to see the creation, I think the first Adepticon team event was less than 24 teams.
Us.
Yeah, probably. And now it's well over 128 teams of 4. So it's it is definitely the highlight of my weekend a lot to see that stuff. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, and what you said about the planning for the next year, we hear it all the time when we're walking around taking pictures of the things that before it's even done, they're like, oh my gosh, I know what we need to do for next year, and people are scribbling things down and they're like, oh, that's really good. We got to do that, So I think they literally finish one and then go to work on what's to come for the next one.
I'm sure that's a topic of many drives home or many flights home is, what they're going to do to escalate things the next year and taking away from what they've learned.
How do you feel people have been responding to the way the game has changed recently?
It's a mixed bag, right? I mean, I think you certainly have to take into account the changes to the game, but just the changes to the environment, right? I mean, there are a lot more companies doing a lot more games at a more mainstream level now. But that's where we take the approach of there are some people that want to play the core game at a competitive level, and there's a place for them. There's folks who want to reach back to the old days and play the game in that style, and there's a place for them. There's folks that want to focus on the hobby aspects of it. You know, when you look at all the different ways you can engage 40K, that's what we're trying to play to.
Yeah, and that brings up, I think some of the guys with Old Hammer are going to be at the show this year. They're going to be running some tables, so if you really want to go way back to like the Rogue Trader days, they're going to be able to accommodate you. You know, that brings back some many memories from long ago when I was in high school playing that game. So it's exciting times.
Because at its core, right? I mean, I think one of the things about AdeptiCon is it's a chance to get together with your friends for a weekend, doing things you all enjoy, however you enjoy it. You know, there's a few beers or whatever involved, but it's that dedicated time to give to your hobby and really to the friends that you know as a result of the hobby, right? And how you express that, it's up to you.
And it is really nice, like you said, to see some of the throwback games that people have access to then, because, you know, there might not be a lot of people around you that are still playing a game, you know, the way that you used to like to play the game. But odds are, if you're going to find any of them, you're going to find them at AdeptiCon.
Absolutely.
So why not take advantage of that while you're here? So how do people go about getting themselves signed up for tournaments for the show?
So the big day that everybody wants to keep in mind is November 23rd. That's when the cart opens. You know, that's really when you've got to be ready to go. The preview carts will be out there shortly. Where you can actually go take a look and start to plan out your weekend. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, by the time this airs, they'll be up.
It'll be open, probably.
They'll be open. So, I mean, you just need to keep in mind November 23rd. I think the cart goes live at 8 o'clock in the evening Central Time, and you know, from experience, those events go fast. So, if you really want in on a particular tournament, in particular events like the Horus Heresy or some of the events that have a lower threshold of space. Make sure you're ready to sign up and get signed up in a hurry, because most of our events will sell out in, well, in some cases the first hour, but certainly in 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah, there's obviously been a solid following for a long time, and that doesn't look like it's changed at all. I hope it's actually increasing. Are you feeling demand for things for the game?
Yeah, I think you'll see 40K growing year over year when you look at the aggregate, right? You know, and that's really part of the strategy that we've put together, right? It's not everybody going into one specific event. It's here's a weekend worth, and if you look at the individual participation across that, we certainly continue to see that growth there.
Awesome.
I mean, I think that's the biggest change is you used to see, you know, from an event standpoint, we'd only have to offer maybe 3 events, right? And that would cover most everybody. Well, now with the changes in the game and just the diversity of what people are trying to get out of the hobby, you know, we've chosen the path to offer more diverse offerings as far as gaming. So if you want to play a little, you know, small force action, combat patrols for you. You want to play, you know, Zone Mortalis and do, you know, boarding actions or interior Space Hulk sort of stuff. That's for you. You want to, you know, use more Forge World. You want to play in the Horus Heresy era of 30K, which with the big release that's coming out.
Right.
You know, we have events for you for that. And if you really want to bring out your Titans, we have Adeptus Titanicus at full 28mm scale. Offer that, you know, a couple sessions of that. So wide diversity of events.
Well, that and different levels of being competitive too, from super serious kind of hardcore to a little lighter. I just want to enjoy my game, you know, and compete. So that's really great. And to speak to that, every time we've come to the show, we keep seeing the guy in the bathrobe. So you have to fill us in on what the story is with the guy in the bathrobe.
Yeah, I think he takes that fly casual approach to the team tournament seriously, right? And that's his expression of fly casual, right? Anyway,
which is awesome. And that's why I said, you know, people just really need to understand that it's, you know, yes, you're competing, but it doesn't mean you can't have fun when you're competing. And I think that aspect of it is, you know, the perfect example of that. So that's great. What can we expect to see coming down the pike? Anything different, new in the 40K side?
Well, it probably won't be a surprise by the time this comes out, but the 40K area is going to be the first area of focus to change over the event to playmats.
Okay,
So
great.
in past years we've been a felt style environment, and 40K is going to get the first treatment of the playmats.
Nice.
So that'll be an exciting surprise this year. So there's some nice things to come from there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at AdeptiCon as a whole, we have something like 600 6x4 play surfaces, which seems like kind of mind-boggling to me. I mean,
It's a lot.
it's a lot. And so if you think about, all those tables, all that terrain, so we're going to start the first phase of moving to playmats. We're going to actually, we've worked with a couple designers to come up with our own playmats for a number of our tables. And we're still going to continue to work with companies that are leading in the industry as far as making playmats, like Frontline and Game Mat EU and Deep Cut Studios. We certainly want to give our attendees at least the experience and see those sort of products. And a lot of times, with Game Mat EU, for instance, they're producing stuff obviously in Europe. Opportunity to see it here in the States. So
Great.
We're going to work with those companies and kind of change the landscape of what the 40K halls really looked at like over the years.
Very nice. I know gamers really, really appreciate not just getting to play their game, but playing their game in a space that looks really fantastic too.
Mm-hmm.
The more immersive that looks and feels, I think the more excited people get about the game, as it's going on. So that's really cool.
Yeah, you got to give a shout to the guys working on the terrain. They've been working for months already.
Yeah.
We have a pretty fabulous terrain set, but every year it's how do we go one better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take areas of focus and look at them and say, hey, let's either scrap this, redesign it, or let's bring this up to the next level, or let's add new elements to this, or, so.
Yeah.
Well, I think you hit it on the head when you talk about the sheer number of tables that are involved, and you really think about that, because tables are one thing, but then when you think of all the things that are required to go onto the tables, to, for a game, and how many of those games are going on at a time, it is pretty mind-boggling. It's impressive, most impressive.
I think the last time we calculated, it's something like over 1,200 games at 40K are being played over a weekend, or I'm sure it's even more than that now. I haven't actually ran those numbers, but it's an enormous amount of play that takes place. And to supply all the terrain for that it goes kind of as a thankless task, right? And so our guys that do that spend a lot of weekends, spend a lot of evenings, painting that stuff. So.
Yeah.
The one that I always use to bring it together is when you look at the team tournament, we kick off that first round of the team tournament on Saturday morning. There's 500,000 points worth of 40K sitting on the tables.
Wow, that's a lot of 40K.
Yeah. So when you think about the average guy has, somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 points, and now there's 500,000 sitting out there. That's a pretty big deal.
That's remarkable. That is remarkable. Well, very cool. So 40K, make sure you come out, check it out at the convention, participate in things, make sure you're paying attention for when the cart goes live. If you want to play, get yourself signed up for events. You can follow along with our AdeptiCon Talk series on AdeptiCon's site, as well as at beastofwar.com. And AdeptiCon has their Facebook page, so lots of places for you to find and follow information. And then if you don't have the pleasure of being physically here with us at the show, you can live vicariously through us as we live blog the event on Beasts of War. So lots of ways to be involved with the show, but it can't compare to being here. So definitely, if you can.
I catch up on the show.
Watching
your coverage.
You're like, what happened?
All the stuff I don't get to see, I watch the Beast of War coverage to see it. I'm like, I missed that.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for giving us the time, guys. We're looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Thank you.